Hey everybody, this is Dylan. I'm here with the one and only Dr. Alan Goldhamer of the True North Health Center. He's about to go on stage. You're going to talk to us about...
I'm going to talk about fasting today.
Tell us a little about fasting right now for the newbies that don't know much.
Well, fasting has an effect like rebooting the hard drive in the computer that becomes corrupted. You know, sometimes you get some corruption, you don't exactly know what's wrong, but when you reboot that computer, everything seems to start working good. And fasting kind of works like that. People that have issues, sometimes you can't be absolutely certain about why there's disruption. But when you go in there and give the body a chance to kind of recalibrate, a lot of things work themselves out.
Talk to us about the impact on high blood pressure and fasting.
Well, we published a study with our colleague T. Colin Campbell, 174 consecutive patients with high blood pressure, 174 people lowered their pressure enough to eliminate medication. Average effect size in stage 3 hypertension was 60-point drop. So we have the largest effects that have been shown in treating high blood pressure in humans. Fasting works really well. If you have essential hypertension, you fast long enough, most people will normalize their pressure. If you're willing to do dangerous and radical things like eat well, exercise, go to bed on time, you can often sustain those results.
You say it like it's so simple.
Well, it's simple to understand, it's difficult to do because
Yeah.
it involves making radical diet and lifestyle changes. You live in a world designed to make you fat, sick, and miserable. And when you make these changes and you adopt a health-promoting diet, there's a lot of forces of evil that come into play to interfere and interrupt your ability to sustain these changes.
How is the world designed to make us fat, sick, and miserable?
Well, we live in a world of what we call the pleasure trap, where people have their dopamine mechanisms in their brain. Those pleasure mechanisms are artificially stimulated, amongst other things, by chemicals added to their food. Chemicals like salt, oil, and sugar. And so people become addicted. They literally not only are eating these things to feel good, but they have to keep eating them to avoid feeling very bad, kind of the hallmark of addiction.
So one of the hardest things from going from the standard American diet designed to make us fat, sick, and miserable to one that is healthy is the food doesn't taste good.
Well, food will taste terrible at first, particularly when you're artificially addicted to the stimulation that comes from chemicals like salt, oil, and sugar. But if you're patient with time, you neuroadapt, and now good foods start to taste good. If you're impatient, you can fast, and after fasting, it doesn't take very long for the taste sensations to change, and now good food tastes good. That's one of the real benefits of fasting, is you can get people to go from not being able to tolerate tasteless swill, i.e. fresh fruits and vegetables, to actually enjoying them.
Obviously, a prolonged water fast needs to be supervised. Could someone do a little short mini fast just if they're working on neuroadaptation and wanting to get the taste of the food back?
Well, we recommend that everybody fast, whether it be 12, 14, or 16 hours every day, and that they limit their feeding window to 8, 10, or 12 hours depending on the circumstances. And that can be done safely by virtually everybody. And that cumulative effect of intermittent fasting seems to have a beneficial effect. It's not quite as powerful as the longer-term impact of water-only fasting, but it is something that can be done safely. Unfortunately, to do longer-term water fasting does require that a medical history baseline exam and laboratory work be done so you can tell the difference between a good thing and a bad thing. And particularly for people on medications and that have significant health issues, they really want to work with a doctor that's familiar with utilizing that approach.
How long do you think that we could do like a prolonged water fast, not a prolonged water fast, but a water fast at home? Could we go 3 days without eating, or do you recommend supervision?
I recommend if you're going to go over 16 hours that you make sure that you've talked with a physician, make sure there's been a history exam and lab done to make sure that there aren't contraindications. For example, people on medications, even short-term fasting can be very problematic. For people that have specific health issues, it can be problematic. Even for those people that are really good candidates, unless baseline data is established, they're going to have trouble when they get those healing crises to tell the difference between a good thing and a bad thing. And so fasting is done, it's safe and it's effective when it's done properly. I'm talking about long-term fasting now. For people that are working at home, I think the short-term intermittent fasting may be a more practical and certainly a safer recommendation.
Can you talk about weight loss and intermittent fasting and the body's, if we were to work out in the morning when we are still in a fasting state, and what impact that might have on weight loss?
Right, well, let's be clear. If people adopt a whole plant food SOS-free diet and they're a female, they're going to lose about 2 pounds a week, and if they're a male, about 3 pounds a week, regardless of any other types of intervention, just by adopting a whole plant food SOS-free diet. If you use intermittent fasting, that is, you narrow your feeding window, you don't eat too early, you don't eat too late. For some people, that seems to facilitate additional progress. Obviously, if you narrow the feeding window and you're eating healthy in that narrowed window, that's going to give you the maximum combination of factors to maximize weight loss. If you combine that, for example, with adequate sleep and vigorous exercise, it's a no-brainer. But weight loss itself isn't the issue. The issue is dietary compliance. If you comply with the diet, you lose the weight. If you do all the other variables, you lose it even faster and you get an even better result.
Right. A lot of your work right now is with the True North Health Foundation. I know you've got an amazing lab that you've just opened in the last year or so. You're doing a lot of studies. Can you give us a little summary about what's going on over there these days?
Well, the True North Health Foundation is our 501c3 nonprofit research organization. It has two missions, which is primary research, particularly about fasting and diet, and also public education. And so we are conducting studies now. We're currently about halfway through a study we're doing in conjunction with our colleagues at the Mayo Clinic, looking at primary prevention of stroke. We have another study that we're just starting on that's going to validate. It's a patient compliance, dietary compliance study that's going to be looking at taste, neuroadaptation changes, patients' ability and willingness to comply, what happens over the long run with these type of dietary changes. We've also completed a couple of studies that haven't come out yet that look at biomarker changes in long-term fasting, things like autophagy and microbiome changes, number of mutations in B lymphocytes, and all kinds of interesting exotic biomarkers that have been evaluated before and after long-term fasting. So we're very excited. We've got a lot of things going on right now. We've published some papers recently, including case reports in the British Medical Journal and others, talking about different conditions and how they respond and what their long-term follow-ups are. So, lots of exciting stuff on the fasting front, because fasting's really been making a bit of a transformation in people's minds from being kind of exotic, religious type of thing to being, more cutting-edge research.
What do you think's done that? What's been pushing this momentum forward?
Some people, for example, Walter Longo, have published articles, really brilliant stuff, including in the Journal of Metabolism, looking at detailed mechanistic changes that occur both with intermittent and with longer-term fasting. The gentleman that we studied, Luigi Fontana, also has been publishing major articles on fasting. There's been some movies that have come out that have been very popular on fasting. And so I think the combination of all of that, plus kind of people are getting sick and tired of, having problems that aren't really apparently resolvable. I mean, let's face it, a third of people over 20, 2/3 of people over 65 have high blood pressure, for example. And currently the medical management approach for high blood pressure involves drugs. And they tell you, if you do what you're told exactly right, you'll be sick forever. Mm-hmm. You'll never get well. You'll be on drugs the rest of your life. People don't want to hear that. They want to hear, what can I do to actually get well? Well, what we've shown is if you're willing to do fasting, you can normalize your pressure, eliminate the medication, and then if you're willing to adopt diet, sleep, and exercise habits, you can sustain it. And so that's, for some people, I think, a better message than take the pill, suffer the chronic cough, fatigue, impotence, and maybe premature death, and just accept the fact that nothing can be done.
Right. But you have to be ready to hear it.
It's tough. Yeah, it's tough business. Trying to adopt a health-promoting diet in a world designed to make you fat, sick, and miserable isn't that easy.
Yeah. The True North Health Center is growing. You've just added several new rooms, and you're still booked out months in advance.
We are very busy. Fortunately, some of the people that we've trained have opened up facilities around the country, so we're able to refer people. If we can't accommodate them, we can maybe refer them to other places that are open with doctors that we have confidence in.
Do you work a lot with the other fasting centers that are opening up? I know a lot of the doctors have been staffed with you before.
Yeah, well, Dr. Gershfeld was with us, and he's opened up a nice facility in Orange County. Dr. Gracie Ewan is running a very successful operation now in Ohio. Dr. Frank Sabatino is operating a facility where they're able to do fasting in Florida. A gentleman I've known forever, Dr. Ralph Sinkay, will do some fasting in Texas. So there are definitely more people coming along, and there's certainly more interest and demand. We're very optimistic about the future.
Wonderful. Tell us how best to support you, your website.
Well, people can go to the Foundation's website at fasting.org. It's a fasting compendium site. Everything they'd want to learn about fasting, they should be able to find on fasting.org. And the True North Health Center's website, healthpromoting.com, has all of our lectures and videos and all kinds of content that's freely available for people that want to explore that. If your viewers are interested in knowing whether fasting can be helpful to them, we offer a free service where they can go online at healthpromoting.com, fill out the registration forms, which gets me their medical history, and call for a no-cost phone conversation with me, and I'll try to give them my best advice.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
Look forward to seeing you on stage.
Very good.